entrepreneurs, we typically tend to be pretty rough around the edges, huh?
We persevere. Yes, we do. We're rugged individualists.
Right, right. Speaking of which, we also, I feel like Mayners kind of know how to do a variety of things. And you had mentioned that you have a side gig that's very much kind of a Maynard background.
Yeah, I do. I've got a very part-time job at Free Range Fish down on Commercial Street.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been working there?
November 1st.
November 1st. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Was there some type of attraction to work at the fish market over there? Or?
Yes. Money's always an attraction. But my husband and I are good friends with the manager. And my husband went to get fish one night, came home and said, hey, Cullen's looking for people. And then he told me how much he was paying per hour.
Yeah.
So I texted him and I was like, hey, you around tomorrow at 11:30? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay. I went in to see him and he goes, why are you here? Well, I'd like that job. And he was like, what? And I love fish. I'm great at customer service.
Yeah.
And I really like you. And it's fun. It's fun to get out 8 hours a week and meet the public.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me anyways, I used to have a side gig. I'm now actually getting more into kind of renovation work as a side gig, so it ties into what I do right now. But I used to drive a tow truck, and I would help people that were broken down on the side of the road. What's more Maynard than that? Right?
I help people choose fish, and you help tow people out of
ditches.
Yeah, perfect.
Now, to get more into your area of expertise, so with Legal Shield, you do a variety of things there as well.
I do.
What's kind of the specialty with Legal Shield?
May I share my story of how I got here?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
This would be a great place to do that.
Okay, great. I worked in the veterinary pharmaceutical sales industry for several decades. And the last 9 years of my veterinary career, I went through 5 different mergers. And the last one was unpleasant on its best day.
Okay.
So I was getting ready to, I guess, boof up my resume and go back out into the world and look for another job, whether in or out of the industry. Yeah. And my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and he got sick really fast. And I asked him one night, very early on in that experience, honey, do you have a will? And he said, no, I don't. But don't worry, you get everything. Knowing that that's not true, I was pretty upset. I happened to have a one-to-one meeting scheduled with one of my networking people the next morning. And she very gently asked me if I was okay. When I shared my story with her, she said, oh, you have to meet so-and-so who's a Legal Shield person. And I was like, okay, where do I find them? She goes, I think she's going to be at our meeting later today. Sure enough. I met the Legal Shield person. I learned that I could update my will. My husband could write his will. And then I learned that I could actually earn a living helping people. And I jumped in. I jumped in with both feet, like right then. In fact, on January 28th, it'll be my 4th anniversary.
Well, congrats.
Thank you very much. And the good news is my husband is 100% healthy now, and he has a will. So, but I get to tell this story to people. I get to help people with their personal things and help connect them to a local law firm where they can tap an app and they can get all the advice that they need from that specialty lawyer. Like if I got a letter in the mail that we're being audited, I would tap the app, I would ask for advice, and I would be connected to a tax attorney. And I would be able to get all my questions answered there. Wow. I've been able to write my will, update my will every year as a member. And then, fortunately I haven't had any speeding tickets, but I have plenty of members who have. Legal Shield does not get you out of your speeding tickets, but it does reduce the points on your insurance. And so we are here to help. And there's a lot of power in being able to tap an app and have a full-service law firm at your fingertips. Right. What I really specialize in and what gets me up in the morning is my passion toward helping small business owners. And, we're talking about the small business owner that kind of like me, is just a sole proprietor, or maybe they have 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 employees.
Right.
And because it doesn't matter how large or small your business is, your problems don't care how big your problems are. Or no, your problems don't care how big your budget is. They're still going to come at you.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be nice if you had a question and you were suspecting that this particular situation could morph into something very ugly and expensive? Wouldn't it be lovely if you could tap the app and ask advice and get your question answered and maybe change your course of action before things get ugly and expensive? So I am out in the world meeting small business owners, whether it's knocking on a door or I think of some of the people that I do business with, and I just share information. And Legal Shield is not for everybody, but when I come across people that find that this is a really good idea and they start using it right away, it's very exciting. I met a woman who's sole proprietor, and she likes to send out contracts for her customers to sign. So she is going to have the law firm review all of her contracts to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and that she's in good standing with that contract. If a client forgot to pay or refused to pay, she could tap the app and maybe a letter or a phone call would be written on her behalf. So that's another way that the law firm can help a small business owner. Because how many of us are out there, and I watched this when I worked in the veterinary industry, people don't pay. People are grumpy for a million reasons.
Right.
And what do? You spend a lot of employee time chasing the money. Wouldn't it be lovely and efficient if you could tap the app, ask for advice, and have the law firm write a letter on your behalf? It certainly holds a lot more weight with law firm letterhead, a letter written on law firm letterhead, than it would coming from my really pretty stationery in the desk of Diane Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, there's the advisory aspect, and then there's also like the service aspect too with sending out that paperwork. That's pretty cool. I feel like I could definitely use you as like a property manager with tenants.
Yes.
I'm assuming you definitely go over leases all the time and probably you work with tenants that aren't paying and stuff like that, or vice versa. Do you work with tenants that are maybe being harassed by a bad landlord?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times people will make judgments about the justice system. And especially if you're feeling like life is unfair or you're feeling like you're being victimized in some way, a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'd love to hire a lawyer, but I can't hire a lawyer because I don't have any money. And what everybody needs to understand is like the color of the justice system is green. And before Legal Shield, or for people that are Legal Shield naive, if you got a lot of money, you got a lot of justice. But as a Legal Shield member, you have that equal justice in the palm of your hand. Tap the app, get advice. So if you are a tenant and things are going very badly, you can tap the app and get advice. If you're a landlord and things are going very badly with a tenant, tap the app and get advice. And I'd also like to say that you may not like the answer that you get because Legal Shield is not magic.
Right.
But you can feel confident that the information that you receive is the accurate legal advice.
Yeah.
And I also have different plans. I have different levels of plans for small business owners, which is really lovely because it's not a one-size-fits-all type of membership. I have a home business supplement because I'm a sole proprietor. But if I meet business owners who are doing business in more than one state or they're doing business with commercial real estate, that is a different, little bit more robust plan. Same law firm.
How many different plans do you have?
For small business owners, I have 4.
Okay.
One of them is the home business supplement, like mine, gets attached to the family plan. Home business supplement is not a standalone product. The benefit of having a home business supplement attached to the family plan is you get to, when I say write off the whole package on your taxes. So you get to protect yourself, your family, your underage children under 26, and that can be all written off. But if you need a more robust plan, again, you still get to write that off. But it's a wonderful way to budget your legal advice. Because a lot of times, a lot of business owners, they just wait until something happens.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't get worse. And they, depending on what it is, it could cost thousands of dollars. We've got plans that'll help you budget that every month.
That's awesome. I feel like definitely like just the whole legal side anyways is pretty complex, and it can be really intimidating. Even going to talk to a lawyer too. There's so many unanswered questions. There's so many times in life where you'll be like, I definitely feel like that's not legal, but I don't even want to get in the headache of dealing with all of that. So this sounds like a much more simplistic way of dealing with it. You guys kind of act as the intermediary between the attorney and the consumer and help make the right connection, so that way they're dealing with the right attorney and not shopping. Because there's a different lawyer for every aspect too, right? You got real estate lawyers, you got criminal defense lawyers, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. A lot of times I meet people and they're like, nope, I'm good. My brother-in-law's a lawyer. My sister-in-law's a lawyer. I'm like, that's fantastic. What kind of lawyer are they?
Yeah.
They're a real estate lawyer and you have a tax problem. Or they might have a really, really busy practice and they cannot solve your problem for you. They can't write the letter on your behalf. They can't represent you in court. They can't do all of those things because they're very busy with their specialty and their clients.
Right.
So this is just a great way for the independent human to have access to the justice system.
Hmm. Do you do a lot of networking with attorneys that go through this service as well?
We, my Legal Shield colleagues and I, will meet with our state-specific, our provider law firm a couple times a year, and they'll come to our national conventions as well. This is probably a good time to say that there is one designated provider law firm per state. With the exception of California and Florida, there are two. And one of the benefits of having one law firm per state is that as a collective, the Legal Shield members are their largest client. Mm. And how do you treat your largest client?
Pretty well.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
So we have a dedicated phone line, so when we call them, we get a really good attention. Our lawyers will call us back within 4 to 8 business hours.
Okay. So that's a pretty quick response time then. Half a day.
I think so too.
1 business day. Yeah.
I think so too. Unless you call them at 5 o'clock on Friday. And in the event that there was some kind of emergency after hours, whether it be, Friday night, over the weekend, you can still tap the app and you can get access to the law firm under emergency circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for example, last Friday night, I had a woman that was, an investor in an LLC, and they were in the midst of a construction project that was sounding, there was a few red flags right from the very beginning. We had a unresponsive contractor already had $50,000 of her money. The pre-approval that she had fell through, so there wasn't anyone that actually financed the project. And the whole thing with the $50,000 with the contractor didn't even come up till Friday night. And then I find out too, she was kind of giving me a sense of urgency with the fact that she was supposed to meet with her investors at 9 o'clock at night. And at this time, it's like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. And it's like, you're about to go back to these property investors. You want to have something to come back with them with, right? We don't have an applicant to be on this loan right now. But what I can do is connect you with someone from Legal Shield. This is what they do. And at least that way you can go back with a backup plan in case there does need to be some type of legal matter that happens here. And you were available.
I was available. And I'd also like to I'm not a lawyer, so I was not the person. I did reach out to that woman, and I did share the information that I needed to share. And when I say emergencies after hours, I'm thinking home invasions, really bad car accidents, that kind of stuff.
Right.
God forbid, if you ever had to brandish your weapon, that's an emergency also, regardless of what time of day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
how did that conversation go? Like, how does a conversation go usually, like that initial conversation? You just kind of explain the plan breakdown and such?
Yes, and we'll use your client as an example. She called, and I always say I am not a lawyer because that's the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
And I shared a little bit about our services, and I learned it's really important for me to gather information. So I listened to her explain to me what their organization is about. Because when you have 10 investors, that's an organization in my mind.
Yeah.
And I also say I don't know if Legal Shield is the right fit for you, but here, let me share some information with you. So when she and I concluded our phone call, I did send her some information, like flat sheet kind of information, but I also sent her a video with one of the leaders in our company who does a beautiful, succinct job of explaining what the small business plans have to offer. And so I am following up today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just to check in. Did you get the information I sent? Because I sent it all via email.
Yeah. Well, because again, I mean, the legal system is a lot of information, and there's layers to that information.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to hear you'll follow up, because I'm sure she'll have questions. Similar to the mortgage field, right? I mean, There's layers to the mortgage field. It's like, I have so many times clients that explain to me what they want to do versus what makes sense to do.
Right.
You know? Right. So, like, for this particular client, same client, she had come to me and she basically was like, I want to do a construction loan. We're going to do it via LLC. We have 10 investors. And first thing in my mind is, okay, this is going to be a commercial loan. Mm-hmm. And then we dial in to how many investors there are, 10, right? And I kind of get an idea as to the credit situation with some of the clients. So then I ask one important question, and I'm like, why is it that you want all 10 investors to be on this loan? Is it for the financial security? Or do you all just want the same ownership to the property that you're trying to build together? And it was the second question that she answered to, and said, yeah, we just want to make sure everyone has the same ownership. It's like, okay, well, that's a completely different aspect than you guys doing the mortgage together.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot less hoops to jump through with a commercial loan. At the end of the day, it could even be more costly to do a commercial loan. So let me ask you this. Is there any individuals that would be interested in taking this upon themselves, just the mortgage side of this? And then we can worry about the deed and all the paperwork from that aspect to make sure that everyone has equal ownership rights after the transaction. And she said yes. So out of all these 10 investors, in regards to the mortgage, there was only one person that was planning to do this, take head of the finance aspect himself. Mm-hmm. So that was important to know. So then we start diving into this individual where, okay, this guy's in Africa. He's unreachable. We're on a timeline with the contractor. And it also sounds like this guy needs some credit repair work. Probably needs to get an idea as to what those settlement costs will look like for him, because we can't pull now from a pool of money from these investors if we're dealing with an individual. This individual needs to be able to come up with the funds himself and finance the whole thing as an individual, not an LLC. So that was a whole lot of layers to dig through to come back around to be like, okay, we don't have a plan right now, right? And we're on a timeline. So these are the steps we need to take right now to figure out, this week. And that was basically coming up with Legal Shield. So there's a whole lot of things of uncovering what people want to do and what people are saying they would like to do. Mm-hmm. And I find that on a daily basis. What are some of the key questions that you have for your clients that kind of uncover the truth as to how you can help them?
How many people are involved, right? How many people are going, this particular situation is a cautionary tale.
Okay.
Because I like to talk to people before they invest the $50,000.
Right.
But like, where are you in your process? Like, where are you? Like, have you established your LLC? Are we in the dreaming stages of opening our business? If you're looking at simply the family plan, that's easy. Everyone in North America should have Legal Shield. That's easy. But as far as business owners go, I think if you've got a storefront, if you like to tell me about your business. Like, what exactly are you selling goods? Are you doing business with vendors? Do you have a lot of contracts to sign? Is it commercial? Are all of your investors in the United States or Canada?
Right.
I didn't ask that question. I should have asked that question. So anyway.
It's also good to hear, too. It sounds like you guys do you do both, like civil and criminal?
Yes, but not everything is covered under the monthly membership fee. All right. So this is a subscription membership, whether it be for family or whether it be for business. And there's like 101 things that we cover for the family and 101 things that we cover for business. If you have an issue that's outside of those 101 things, the good news is you still get to use the law firm. More good news, you never have to pay full price for your attorney because you get a 25% member discount. My favorite business member story has to do with a man I've met through networking who's an inventor. And he invented a brilliant product. He's got a patent on it. He needed a patent attorney. Okay. Patent attorneys are really expensive. In fact, his patent attorney was going to cost $40,000.
Wow.
And that's not covered under his membership. But the good news is he is getting a 25% member discount.
Okay.
So
that's a big chunk of change when you're talking about $40,000.
No kidding. On a personal side, if you have a family membership and you'd like to establish a trust, trusts are not included as part of your membership, but trusts can be expensive. And for simple math, let's say it costs $10,000 to establish a trust for your family. Why pay $10,000 when you can pay $7,500?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of like trusts and all that, talk about a seller trying to sell their house when they're in the middle of a divorce. That is an interesting scenario, yeah.
It is, and I think that's one of the benefits of networking, because you and I get to meet some really talented people that have a lot of experience in those kinds of things, whether they be realtors that understand those things or, financial people, Legal Shield people, and we can help at least guide them so that they can get accurate legal advice.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially because we do a lot of networking. Shout out to TBD Connection, by the way.
Yeah.
We have chapters all over Southern Maine, but an attorney is a very busy individual, and that's usually the person that can't fill a seat at a TBD Connection event. So having those questions, I feel like, is just so easy to think of Legal Shield, because it's like, okay, this is not only going to benefit the consumer today, but it's a residual thing too, where going forward, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of like legal insurance. Like if you own a home, you have home insurance. If you have a car, you've got auto insurance. And you pray to God you're never going to need to call either one of your insurance agents and say, oh my God, my house burned down, or I got a bad car accident. Like, those are the insurances you hope you don't need. Those are just in case insurances.
Right. When
you're a Legal Shield member, whether it be the family member or the small business owner, I encourage you to use your membership. Use it.
It's like AAA for legal advice.
Exactly. But you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until your car breaks down. If you have a question, whether you think it's a legal question or not, make the phone call, tap the app, ask for the advice.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's all done from the app, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And if they have any questions, they just call Diane.
This is correct. I am your Legal Shield agent for life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like that immediate just communication, where it's like if you have any questions, because I deal with that on a daily basis. You know, especially with my field, is you have to be available all the time. I mean, obviously you have to manage your time too for family and all that, but from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it's like my cell phone's my business phone. And if you need to reach me, whether it's on Monday or Saturday, feel free to text me, call me, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I say the same to mine. You know, the beauty of the technology is that we can see, you know, we can turn it off when we absolutely have to. But if I'm available and you're calling me, I'm going to pick up the phone.
Yep. It also speaks volumes, too, that it's like, for instance, with Legal Shield, you got into Legal Shield because you found the value in using it yourself. And that's I mean, I can see you're definitely passionate about it. Yeah. You have to be passionate about what we do, or else you'll get mentally exhausted and you'll tap out. Yeah,
you talk about divine intervention. You know, I was just getting ready, like I said, to spruce up my resume and get it out in the world again. And I was dreading it. Yeah. I was just dreading it. And through a series of circumstances, I became a Legal Shield associate, and I get to earn a living helping people.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes on their worst day. But a lot of times it's like before we get to be preemptive, you know, proactive.
Right.
You know, before the bad stuff happens.
Yeah. I think for me personally, that's essential, is loving what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't say it enough. I say it at least once on every podcast. You know, I don't know. I mean, besides work, the other things that motivate me are just people that are trying to just truly do good for the community. You know, filling a purpose. You know, it's kind of something that we've lost. I mean, I feel like some people have lost sight in too, where it's, you know, maybe you're frustrated with work, or the work you're doing has become dull, you know, because it just lacks purpose for you. Mm-hmm. I've always been someone that likes to kind of build. I want to build something from scratch type of thing, and to kind of correlate that to, you know, like your typical salary paying job, where you fill a seat and you're given a very specific task list for the day, and that's it. You know, tunnel vision all the way through the day. You know, 6 months, 12 months, or 2 years, 3 years of that, you know, it can start to weigh you down a little bit mentally. What are some things that you may find in business that could be kind of weighing you down in general, and how do you deal with that?
Personal development. Sometimes people are very people-y.
Yeah.
And I have been encouraged, I want to say, my team at Legal Shield reads, and it's the team that I'm on Legal Shield, reads professional development books every single month. So, and we operate on a very team level. So we're always lifting each other up. We recognize each other. We can call each other to problem solve. And I've also found that with our networking group, our TBD groups, is that there's a really nice trust factor that's been building since we began our chapters. Mm-hmm. And so that we can bounce ideas off of one another. We can cheer each other on. And that's very much the environment at Legal Shield. Because sometimes, I don't care what industry you're in, it can become repetitive.
Yeah.
And so how do you overcome that, whether it be boredom or frustration or all of those things? I encourage personal development. I encourage really good reading when you're driving in the car. Listen to really good books on tape that are constantly inspiring you or teaching you things, like Drive University, you know. So you're not wasting any of your time.
Right. Yeah, and that could be a lot of things too. It's just breaking your day up to make it unique. You know, whether that's taking on a new hobby, doing meditation, as Jay had said last week. That's one of the things he starts his day with, you know. Yep. And it could even be maybe picking up a side job too, like working at the fish market.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. Like when you work a job like that, and it's not just solely for the money. It's interesting. You know, it's an interesting thing to be able to do that. Yeah. You know, I've thought about being. Before the towing thing, I thought how cool it would be to be a lobsterman for 6 months.
Right.
You know, I mean, I ended up landing.
I can hook you up.
Maybe that's a route I'll travel down
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
It's just fun, it's almost like how it's climbing Mount Katahdin could be on your bucket list.
Yep.
I mean, growing up in Maine, it's like, how cool would it be to be able to say I did this?
Right.
Whether it's driving a tow truck for 2 years, or working at the local fish market.
Yep.
Because life is just a series of stories.
Right. And how do we live our best life? Right?
That is the
How
that's
do
the
we live
question.
our best life? I have a friend who went into hospice on Friday. And I've spoke to her and she said, I've had the most beautiful life. And when I think about this woman, I think how grateful I am that she's my friend.
Yeah.
But she lived life on her own terms. She retired when she wanted to at 55.
Mhm.
She owns her home outright. She is dedicated to the Portland Players Theater. And she travels around the world. Like, she had this magnificent bucket list. And just recently this summer, past summer, she went to Egypt and Israel.
Wow.
And it was magnificent. So I'm going to be sad when she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I admire her and I look up to her because what a great role model for living your best life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's on that same note, is like, what's your word for 2023? Did you pick a word that you're going to think about every single day, that will, your inspirational word?
Yeah. My word would have to be, I would say dedication.
There you go.
Right?
Mine's intention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can be motivated to do something, but it's like, are you going to get up every morning, every week, and do that? Last week, I mean, there's a lot to kind of cover in this next part, but like, I had someone text me. This is a local business partner, and she texted me and she said, this just happened. A deal just fell through. I don't think I can do this anymore, is what she texted me. Now, there was two sides to that. For one, I really liked the fact that she was, trustworthy enough with me to be able to expose that part of her mind. And as opposed to texting her back, I called her back just immediately. And I was just like, what's going on? Right? Like, just unload. Yeah, unload. Tell me what's going on. Then she starts going on about how, she's got some family things that she needs to take care of, and she's put all her time into this one deal, and now it's falling apart and stuff like that. And we had a conversation for like 30 minutes about nothing to do with business, where it was just like, look, this is the time we're in right now. It's a tough market for anyone in any field. And you just have to remember. I asked her, I said, why did you get into what you do now? Right? And her answer was like this long, drawn out one. And I said, basically, you were unhappy with the last thing you were at. And this gave you the flexibility that you needed to be happy and take control of your schedule. She said, yeah. And I was like, so remember that, because getting out of this and going back to what you did before is going to suck just as much as it may be right now. But if you keep moving forward tomorrow, at least you're still pressing in what you originally wanted to do for a very good reason, because life is a series of stories, and one of those stories should be, your job, which makes up a third of your life. Sleep makes up the other third, and then that final third is time with family. So you got 2/3 of your life, either where it's with your free time or how you make a living, and it's that kind of all loops it back around to, it's like, business needs to be a meaningful thing. It can't just be all about the numbers. It has to be about making those relationships, believing in what you're doing, and just making that be one of your many stories, And
remember your why.
Exactly.
Because things are going to get boring and things are going to get tough.
Yeah.
But if your why is big enough, and you did a brilliant job asking that question of your friend who was trusting you, what's your why? Why are you here?
Yeah.
And then, I'm here because all those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What did you do before Legal Shield? You said you were with a pharmaceutical tech?
I I worked in the veterinary industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I covered all of New England, sometimes more. And I was in the over 50,000 mile a year driving club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was great. I got company car. I got a new company car every year.
Yeah.
But that's because I was driving like 50, 65,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Calling on veterinary hospitals.
Trying to sell like equipment and stuff?
Everything from tongue depressors to the overhead surgery lights. And sometimes I worked for manufacturers. So I was representing it very early on in my career. Actually, my first job in the veterinary industry was with a tiny little startup company in Portland, Maine called Agritech, which has now morphed into IDEX.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a grind, though. Holy cow.
You know
driving 50,000 miles?
I was younger.
Yeah.
And I loved what I did. And I loved how different it was every day. Yeah, getting to Vermont was not my cup of tea, but once I was there, it was fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you do that?
33 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
33 years.
Yeah.
Well, you must have definitely got a lot of great experience out of it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And you know what? When it came to its natural conclusion, Legal Shield showed up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm a very, very lucky person.
Right. And that's why, again, it's so important to just be open-minded to doing new things, and keeping yourself diverse, because if you do that, you're opening the door to so many opportunities where the right thing will finally fall in your lap.
Yep. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It's okay. You can start your own business at any time in your life. If this is something you've always dreamed about doing, don't put it on the shelf. You can start your own business today part-time.
Yeah.
Everybody can carve out a little bit of time every day to be consistent with your side gig, which might morph into a full-time gig.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I was just talking to Hussein with Cleaner's Joy.
Right.
Shout out to Hussein, where in next week, he's been a year in the business. He's got about 100 reviews now. He's doing well in Portland, and he's just now kind of getting over the hump to establishing himself. Yeah. But now his next step is he wants to go down to Houston, Texas, and expand down there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh. We'll edit it out.
Sorry. Sorry, the editor.
Oh, we're good.
Sorry, Teresa. That's my next appointment.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go over last couple of things and wrap it up.
Okay, we're back.
But it's been great. It's been good. But yeah, so shout out to Hussein with Cleaner's Joy.
And congratulations.
Yeah, just now, establishing himself in Portland, Maine, and now he's going down to Houston, Texas, to expand down there. And I was like, Houston, Texas, what brings you down there? And he's just like, more opportunity, bigger city, and I have a few friends down there. I'm just going to see what happens. And it's like, why not?
There you go. I love that. And one of the beauties of what I do is I can do my job anywhere also.
Right.
So we'll be heading down to Savannah in a month and a half. And we've been there so many times. We've got some really nice friends down there.
Yep.
I'm going to go network with them.
I love it.
Yeah.
Similar to me. It's like I can, as long as my phone is my office, right? It's like people call my phone, I could be anywhere. I could go to Florida, I could be on vacation with my family, and that option to eventually, be doing that and get to that point, however long that may take, that's so beautiful to me, because it's like, I mean, what a dream. But it's definitely hard. It's a lot of work to get there.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with hard, because you look back and there's a lot of personal pride there. And yeah, that's a dream of mine, to have members in all 50 states.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. So for anyone that's right now, they're trying to, they're kind of trying to find their passion right now, and they're not gifted with maybe your crazy guitar skills or the songbird of their generation or anything like that, but maybe they're in college or maybe they're mid-career, and they're thinking, is this right for me? Do I want to make a change? What are 3 good advice tips that maybe even you'd give to your younger self?
Keep your mind open. Talk to as many people as possible. Learn, and when you talk to them, listen to as many people as possible. Right? Find people you admire and ask them their story. Learn as many people's stories as possible, and there will be a spark.
I love it.
And don't be afraid. There will always be people in your inner circle and your next ring of your slightly inner circle that are going to be terrified when you change. And it's okay to love them from a distance. Remember your why, like you said before.
Yep.
And go for it.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
All right. Diane, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Jake. Thank you so much.
Yeah. We'll see each other soon.
Yes, please.